Hey there, Internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another episode of Wrestling Wednesday, responding, of course, this week to the Superstar Shakeup on WWE's Raw and SmackDown. Lots of people kind of switching brands for the foreseeable future, as well as a few more NXT call-ups after kind of the little post-Wrestlemania bump we had last week. So, kind of running through Raw and SmackDown. On the Raw side of things, it looks like about 21 stars kind of moving over there. You had Jinder Mahal come over, of course, first with the United States Championship, and then he immediately lost it to Jeff Hardy, which suggested that either Jeff Hardy or Seth Rollins were going to move, because you're not going to have both the U.S. title and the Intercontinental title on the same brand. So Jeff Hardy, of course, ended up going to SmackDown the next night, which I think was the right call, because I feel like they just started selling those Monday Night Rollins shirts, so to have moved him to SmackDown would have been very silly. You had the Riot Squad move over, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan. You had Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens come over. Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley came over, but that was like relegated to just like a social media promo. Breezango, Tyler Breeze and Fandango, the Fashion Police, moved over to Raw. Natalya kind of joining up with Ronda Rousey, it seems. Like that may be kind of Ronda Rousey's next little storyline is going to be a bit of stuff with Natalya. Dolph Ziggler moved over and brought with him the NXT call-up of Drew McIntyre / return to the main roster of Drew McIntyre, which with him and Jinder Mahal moving over to Raw means now you have all three of the 3MB over on Raw, so I wonder if they will play with a little bit of reunion there. A few more kind of online-only mentions were Baron Corbin, Mike Kanellis, Chad Gable, who got called over after the show had even finished airing, as well as Connor and Victor from the Ascension. They got called over afterwards, and I had finally made the note of one of the Singh brothers was there to, introduce Jinder. I imagine both of them got moved over, but of course one of them is still injured. So with those two, that brings us up to 20. And then the last one that they made that was kind of anticlimactic was Bobby Roode kind of taking part in that 5v5 final match on Raw that night. So very kind of stacked deck, and after seeing that, I was like, God, who does SmackDown have left? And, who all is going to be going from Raw over? They had made mention that The Miz, he was kind of the first one announced that he was going to be heading back over to SmackDown without The Miz Taraj, so interesting call there. And then on SmackDown proper, as I mentioned, Jeff Hardy brought the U.S. title back over there, immediately defended it against Shelton Benjamin, and was victorious. Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, Absolution, got called over to SmackDown to join kind of their ringmaster page, which of course made sense as soon as the Riot Squad had moved over to Raw. It was like, okay, well, yeah, I think you could predict those two are going to be heading over to SmackDown. Then you're going to have both of those little stables sitting on Raw. Samoa Joe is probably one of the biggest moves over to SmackDown, and that's exciting. Although, it's exciting. I would have loved him to see him kind of continue, beating people down on Raw, but now seeing who he can go up against on SmackDown with people like Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles and who's the third one he called out? Shinsuke Nakamura, right? I think that was the third one he called out. No, would have been another face. I don't know. Whoever he called out, it's like there's a lot of potential good matches for Joe, and also Joe being on SmackDown as one of the big guys on SmackDown means he's not going to be overshadowed by Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar on the Raw side of things. So that is nice as well. Big Cass finally made his return and a move over to SmackDown, and immediately seems to be kind of being pushed into the top of the card, as evidenced by his kind of potential feud with Daniel Bryan. So that's exciting. Asuka made her return to TV with she has moved over to SmackDown and maybe kind of stabling up with Charlotte and Becky Lynch. The three of them, of course, kind of fought off the Iconics and Carmella. Gallows and Anderson, the club moving over, but not Balor. Balor's staying on Raw, so there goes the Balor Club mini reunion that we had all too briefly. Cesaro and Sheamus are on SmackDown now. So that's weird that they're fighting for the Raw Tag Team Championships in Jeddah in a couple weeks. I think that's pretty much foreshadowing that, hey, yeah, Bray Wyatt and Broken Matt are probably going to be the ones winning that and taking that back to Raw. Announcement that 3/4 of Sanity are being called up in Killian Dane, Eric Young, and Alexander Wolf. Nikki Cross not making the jump just yet, it seems. I guess they did this with Carmella as well, kind of not pulling her up with Enzo and Cass, but pulled her up later. Given how that's turned out for Carmella, hopefully Nikki Cross, I think, has a similar trajectory potentially. R-Truth, who've been out for a while for injury, moving to SmackDown. So you got kind of a little bit of the comedy stuff there to replace Breezango moving over to Raw, perhaps. And then lastly, Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega, again, getting called up from NXT. So lots of moves, lots of exciting potential call-ups, or exciting call-ups, not potential call-ups, exciting feuds. The SmackDown roster looks pretty solid. AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, The Miz, Daniel Bryan, lots of Samoa Joe, lots of really good, strong kind of talent to kind of play a strong role there. I'll be interested to see kind of what feuds they start developing. I'm surprised that they didn't have Ronda Rousey and Charlotte end up somewhere on the same brand to kind of help set up a feud down the line there. But the year's young, they could do another shake-up down the line. Or they could just, they are kind of moving towards co-branded pay-per-views anyway, so they could do cross-branded fights and feuds throughout, I'm sure. So that's the big moves that we had this week. I'll be interested to see, I was just joking with Cameron on Sunday. We were talking about Jinder having the U.S. title, and now that's a better fit for him. So maybe they'll give him some kind of lengthy run with it, and then he immediately lost it the next day. So now I'm like, okay, well, I like Jeff Hardy, so hopefully he has some kind of good run with it, and kind of builds up that title again, because I feel like it just kind of bounced around so much last year that it doesn't feel like it's worthwhile. And when you also have the Universal title, that is barely ever seen, it's weird that the Intercontinental title last year was probably one of the best belts because of all the great work that Miz was doing for it. And then eventually we got to Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles as the WWE champion. So that finally started feeling like it meant something. So lots of shifts. I'm curious if we'll see kind of Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley flare back up. That feud now that Raw in theory is going to have more time because it's a 3-hour show. So now that they're on the 3-hour show, maybe there will be a little bit more time for them. Mike Kanellis coming back. That's exciting. Maybe that's exciting. I don't know. I felt like he did very little before he kind of went off the air for a while there. But him being back on is, at least interesting nonetheless. Baron Corbin moving over to Raw. We'll see what he does. Maybe he'll get inserted into the Intercontinental title picture against Rollins and stuff like that. So, it'll the tag team division on Raw. Be interesting to see what we do with that. Tyler Breeze and Fandango, you had beating the Bar before the Bar left, so maybe they're going to get some kind of push, and it'll be when you assume the Woken Warriors or the Deleter of Worlds or whatever come back from Saudi Arabia. Maybe they'll face down against Breezango or Authors of Pain. I imagine it'll be kind of the next ones maybe in the running for the tag division there. That's interesting little shakeup there this week. So let me know your thoughts on the Superstar Shakeup in the comments below. Any big crazy surprises or anything you just think is a terrible decision, let me know. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at the Trove, treasure your friends.